Overclocking a personal computer. Now, if you're going to do this, I would recommend a desktop, not a laptop. And I'll get into that in a little bit, okay? But anyway, how would you first of all do it? Well, the first thing you would do is when your computer first starts to boot up, okay, you can actually go in there and you can change the speed of the CPU and your RAM. Even though the manufacturer has set it for a predetermined whatever, you can actually ramp it up. And that's really kind of a neat thing if you're going to do a lot of gaming. You can get better performance on your graphics. You can get better performance on your memory, that kind of thing. So yes, when it comes to gaming, it's a very interesting thing to do. But there are problems. Number one, you overclock your CPU or your RAM or whatever, and the first thing that can happen is that your CPU is moving at one speed and your RAM is moving at another, and when they fail to communicate properly, you can do some serious damage to your board. Okay, your motherboard can be seriously damaged by doing that. Number two, I hope you're rich, because the more overclocking you do, the more electricity is going to be consumed, and you're going to have more fans, and I'll tell you the reason why for that in just a second. When you're talking about electricity usage, your electricity usage is going to go up because you overclocked. So if you want to afford those electric bills, by golly, go right ahead. Third problem, heating. Let me tell you something, those chips get hot. And if your CPU fan and all those other fans in there cannot compensate for that, your whole fan system can get burnt pretty quick. Isn't that nice? And it gets worse. Now, the reason why I said don't try to overclock a laptop is because of how hot those laptops can actually get. You can melt your motherboard. Isn't that nice? But that's bad enough. The thing is, with a laptop already being hot, you make it a lot hotter. Not only can you melt the motherboard, but on top of that, it can catch fire. And if it catches fire, so does your house. So I would have a fire extinguisher around while trying to do all that overclocking on a laptop. Because when you do that, you could potentially put yourself and your house at risk. Let me tell you something. You try to overclock a laptop, I wouldn't put it on your lap. I promise you, you'll be sorry you did. You want second or third degree burns, you go right ahead. I don't think you want that. So, the cost of such a thing, and remember, even if you do put enough fans or a water cooling system on this thing so that you can enable it to overclock, that's going to be noisy. The fans will be noisy, the water cooling system will be noisy. Oh, I got a faster gaming system. I can't hear it worth a dime, but I got a faster gaming system. How ridiculous is that? So, that's what I feel about overclocking a personal computer. If you're going to do it at all, I would do it on a desktop, not a laptop. I would install a water cooling system, and then I'd have some pretty big time speakers, because you're not going to hear diddly squat. Unless, of course, you can take this overclock PC and you can string a very long line between it and your monitor, and you can put your monitor in one spot and you can have the PC in the other spot. But then again, like I said, I would absolutely make sure to have a fire extinguisher when that thing gets hot enough, starts igniting on fire. And remember, you burn up your motherboard, that's $500. You better have a spare $500 when you do it. If you're rich enough to do that, you got plenty to pay the power bills and the motherboard that might actually melt down and the chips that all might melt down, and you're prepared to handle a fire. Go right ahead, overclock. I just don't think it's worth it. If you're in a mobile home, I can guarantee you do not want to overclock your PC. The fire hazard alone would be enough. Then you add the electricity and you add all the complications. It just wouldn't be worth it. So if you're not living in a regular house and you don't have a good bank account and the whole 9 yards, I wouldn't overclock. I know it increases performance, but it also increases all the problems. So, there you go. There you have it. Now you know what's going on. I will tell you more in a future video, so stay tuned.